All right, take a live look right now at pictures from the Vatican in Rome. The 1.4 billion Catholics around the world have a new leader tonight. Cardinal Robert Prevost has now become Pope Leo XIV.
Well, here's some information on his background. He's 69 years old and a native of Chicago. While he is an American, Leo spent most of his career in Peru, then at the Vatican. He's fluent in at least 3 languages, including English, Spanish, and Italian.
And joining us now to help us with some context on this election is Professor James Naus. He is the chair of the history department at Oakland University. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Just kind of help us understand how historic this moment is and what it means for the global Catholic Church to select its first American pope.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a historic moment anytime a pope's elected. There have only been 70 or something like that? I've lost count over the course of the day. But for the American community to have the first American, nobody was, myself included, was expecting an American pope, I think.
Yeah. So how might the Pope's American background help shape priorities moving forward?
Yeah, it's a really good question. You know, one of the things that we've talked a lot about over the past couple days is growing the church, and so they focus mainly on issues or regions like Africa and Asia and Latin America where the church is growing a lot, but less conversation about the United States where the church is not growing and in a lot of areas is shrinking. So here's somebody who may breathe a new sense of sort of life into the church in the United States.
Sure. Now, we know the U.S. Catholic Church has had its share of challenges. What message do you think this sends, if any, to folks here in America who are Catholic?
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, I think that it sends a message that he's trusted by the cardinals in the sense that he was elected after 4 or 5 ballots. I don't know if we know. I think it was 4, but we don't know yet if it was 4 or 5 for sure. So it sends a message, I think, of trust. It was a relatively quick election, and he's been rising through the ranks in sort of the church for quite a while. And I think there's some good reason to believe that Francis would be very happy with this decision as well.
Yeah. Any significance behind his name?
I suspect there is. He didn't say anything in his opening remarks about which Leo, and there have, of course, been 13 before him. But if we presume that he's picking the last one, Leo XIII, he was a pope at the turn of the 20th century. During the Industrial Revolution, and he wrote some really important documents, one encyclical in particular, in which he talked about sort of the social justice responsibility for the church, the responsibility towards the working poor, towards immigration and stuff like this. And so that name could be a very intentional signal of the priorities that he's going to have.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you think that this choice of an American pope maybe will send a generational shift inside the Vatican?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, this is a pope who has a wide range of experience. He was both a missionary for a large portion of his life, but he also understands the Vatican hierarchy. He's worked in the upper echelons of sort of the Vatican departmental system. And so when you put that on 12 years of Francis's reign, you could see a very different Vatican at the end of this pope for sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting for where there's so many dioceses across the country have been having, especially in America, have been having challenges getting people back to the church inside the sanctuary since the COVID pandemic. That connection, having Americans serving as Pope, he's probably in tune with the realities that churches locally are facing. Do you think that's going to play an impact?
Yeah, absolutely. That will play an impact. He's also, his order in particular, he's an Augustinian, and that's an order that's focused on evangelization and missionary work. So his life has been focused on sort of bringing people to church. So he's well qualified for it.
Okay. Professor James Naus, chair of the history department at Oakland University, we thank you so much for joining us and providing some perspective
Thanks for
our
having me.
viewers. Absolutely.
We appreciate it.